Welcome back to the Cowl Vault, guys, and today we're going to review another Batman cowl. This is two. That was four. This is two in 1 week. I'm going to get back to my roots. I'm going to start reviewing my cowls. So in today's review, I'm going to review my brand new cowl that I just acquired a few days ago. My George Clooney main Batman and Robin cowl made by Fanatic Effects. So, let's do it. Alright, so like I previously mentioned, this cowl was made by Fanatic Effects. Now, this cowl has a lot of damage on it. And the reason for that is because this was one of the first items that Fanatic Effects ever made. So he was still learning how to make molds, make resin copies of things, make silicone molds, do urethane copies of things. So he had sculpted the cowl, and the surface on the sculpture itself had some damage. He sculpted things a little too thick, and when he cast it, all of his castings came out a little wonky because he was still learning. So he actually doesn't offer this cowl, but I know that he has it because him and I have become friends, and I've hit him up for some items, and I've pretty much cleaned him out of everything he has. And I knew that he had a Batman and Robin cowl, and I need it for my movie set. So he warned me in advance, it's not my best mold, it's not my best, mask that I make. I don't really want to offer it because I'm not proud of it. I didn't care, I needed it for my movie set. So I'm just going to say that in advance, this cowl does have a lot of damage. It kind of looks a little wonky, but I'm okay with it. It's the George Clooney cowl, it's one of my least favorite cowls. George Clooney is one of my least favorite Batmans, but I need it in the collection to complete my movie set. So, now that I got that out of the way, so that when you guys see the cowl and you're like, oh man, that does not look very good, it's because it was one of the very first items that Fanatic Effects ever created. So it's got a little bit of damage from that learning curve of when he was mastering his craft. So, I got the forewarning out of the way. So, first up, I'm going to show you guys the emblem. Now, when I received the cowl, it was attached permanently with urethane. The emblem is actually urethane as well. Fanatic Effects, again, like I said, was learning at that point. So he now offers resin for all of his emblems that now adhere with Velcro. But this was one of the first items. So he did the whole thing in urethane, which made it very, very heavy. So when this was attached to the cowl, one side of it you can see is cast very thick, and the other side is kind of thin. So when it was sitting on the cowl on display, it was kind of pulling the cowl down a bit, and it was making the face a little wonky. So I just trimmed it off at the urethane. I've shaved this down a little bit, and I just display this in front of the cowl. I don't have it on the cowl anymore. But here is the Batman and Robin emblem. This was made in blue upon my request. I wanted it made in blue. Here's the back. It's very ugly. But here is the actual emblem itself. I think it came out really beautifully, especially for being a very early mold made by Fanatic Effects. You can see it's got like kind of the Robin symbol in the middle, kind of how like they mended together in that movie with the Batman outlining it. So here is the symbol. Here's the thickness on it. It's got like a bit of a groove, just like the actual cowl, where it kind of was sculpted over the muscular chest, so it had a little bit of an arch. But there it is. So that's the emblem. And the emblem was adhered right here. And I just trimmed it away. Because again, it was pulling the cowl down. And it was making all of this kind of turn in too much. So I took it off. So that is the Batman and Robin emblem. And then here is the cowl. So as you can see, the cowl looks a little crooked. The ears don't necessarily line up straight. There's a lot of surface detail that's a little bit wonky. You can see all like the black specks that are rubbing off on the paint. The reason for that is that there's something inside his mold, something that came off on his actual model that he molded that is now stuck in his mold. So every casting that he makes kind of rips off a little bit. So he cast this in blue for me, but there's all these black specks that are on it. But honestly, I don't care. I just wanted this for my movie set, and it still is a really, really, really nice piece. If you're looking for extreme accuracy, if you're looking for the best version of the Batman and Robin cowl, I highly suggest going with Iconic Effects. He's mastered the actual metallic pigments that are in the Clooney cowl, so he can give you that absolutely accurate Clooney metallic blue. This one here is kind of a almost attempt, and I was totally fine with that. I still think it's an amazing piece. It looks amazing on the shelf, and when you wear it, when you actually do put it on, it kind of fills out, and it makes you actually look like Clooney. And all of this, all these thin areas and all these surface details that are a little defective, they all kind of pop out when you put the mask on. But I just wanted to let you guys know there is a bit of surface detail that's a little wonky on the mask. Like you can see this big bubble right here. That was a sculptural imperfection that now transfers over to every single casting. So like I said, he doesn't offer this because he's not proud of it. He knows that it has a lot of defects, and he's just not proud of it. So he doesn't offer it, but I wanted one, so that's why I have it in my collection. And it's still a really nice piece. Like I absolutely love this piece in the collection. It's one of my favorite cowls in my collection. I actually do really like the Clooney cowl. But I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a warning of why it looks so wonky. This is made of 40 Shore urethane rubber, tinted in blue. Upon request, because this was one of the first items that Fanatic Effects ever created, some of the surface detail and stuff had defects on it, like I've already previously mentioned a few times. And one of those defects was that the nose trim, the little buckle, it's underneath the nose. You have like the part that comes forward, and you have a little buckle under the nose that catches the nose. It was very droopy, very droopy. So I asked him to just trim it away. So that's what he's done for mine. So mine is not 100% accurate because the actual nose trim that's supposed to be right here is trimmed away upon my request, because it kind of sat down, like way down here. It would kind of fall diagonally down. I didn't like how it looked, so I just asked him to trim it away for me, and he said, yeah, I can totally do that for you. And when you're looking at it dead on, you don't even notice that it's not there, and it looks a lot better than if it had a little droopy nose here. But it is a really, really nice cowl. Most of the defects are very, very minuscule. Like there's a little bit of a buckle right here. It's just a surface mold defect, and there's a little buckling every kind of all over the place. But again, it's a really nice mask, and I'm extremely happy that I have it in the collection. Other than that, one detail that's on his that most people don't offer is he actually sculpted the cape clips. That's what these are here. These are the cape clips that are actually present on the Clooney cowl. There's a bit of a vent thing here where the emblem adheres to, and then there's these cape clips that the cape actually fastened into on the actual Clooney suit. And overall, like, the sculpt of this is really good. I think he captured the Clooney really well. And this is one of my newer masks in my collection, and I'm really happy that I have it. The only movie mask that I'm missing now is the Val Kilmer Sonar. So I'm hoping to find someone who sells that for a reasonable price. Here's a good look at the inside, guys. The inside is actually cast pretty evenly. I think this is a pretty clean casting. The thickness of the rubber is really, really good as well. Some urethane cowls don't come out properly, and you'll have some thin areas. But this one is basically all the same thickness all around. There's really no casting imperfections in it. It's just that surface detail that you can't do anything about until he actually decides to fix his master copy, his master resin copy of his sculpture, and then remold that so that every casting after that will be perfect. So I think he is planning to do that eventually. So if you guys are planning to order this cowl from Fanatic Effects, maybe wait a while until he has a chance to remold it and then make perfect copies. This one was the very first, or one of the very first ones he ever created, so it has a lot of oopsies, pretty much, because he was learning. He wasn't a pro at that point. Now, he's an absolute pro, and I highly recommend Fanatic Effects. Just don't order this one right now. Wait till he remolds it so that he can send you that perfect mask for your collection. But for me, this is good enough, and I'm really happy with this. And if he ever does decide to remold it, I will buy another one without any defects at all. So there it is again, the Batman and Robin cowl. Now I'm going to do a really quick comparison of this cowl and the Batman Forever cowl, because it's actually a well-known fact that the Batman Forever cowl was supposed to be the one used for George Clooney, but it didn't fit George Clooney. It was too thin. It was too tight on his head, because Val Kilmer and George Clooney have different bone structures, they have different builds, it just didn't fit him. So in some scenes in Batman and Robin, he actually is wearing the Forever cowl in the blue, the metallic blue. But then they had to resculpt it, and Jose Fernandez, who created the Dawn of Justice cowl, is actually the person responsible for sculpting the Clooney cowl. He was brought on to do a really quick resculpt, reconfigure it for Clooney's head, and that's what we got here. So I'll show you a really quick comparison of the two cowls together so you can see the differences and the similarities, and then I'll try this puppy on and I will end the video. Alright, so here we have the Batman Forever next to the Clooney. So you can see that the overall silhouette of them has kind of maintained. They're kind of similar in their silhouettes, but you can see that the eyebrows have been reshaped. The nose on the Clooney is a lot longer because, again, it had to be form-fitted to fit George Clooney properly. But the backs are generally almost the same, slight differences. So yeah, and one of the biggest differences is actually the ear thickness. So you can see how the ear thickness on the Clooney is a lot different than the ear thickness on the Kilmer. So, very similar but very different, and now you know why. It's because this cowl right here did not fit George Clooney. So we had to have this one right here, custom made for George Clooney. So, now I'll put this puppy on. They're always a struggle to get on. If you're buying your first Batman cowl, one thing you can do is you can put baby powder inside and all over your hair, put it on, or you can do some KY jelly. You can even just wet your hair down. I'm just going to wing it, and I'm just going to pop this sucker on my head, and I'm going to show you that in just a second, because I don't want you guys to see me struggle on camera, because it's pretty embarrassing. Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman. So here is the George Clooney cowl from Batman and Robin. So here it is with the emblem, if anyone is wondering. Let me see if I can line this up. There you go. So this is how I received it. But like I said, the emblem was way too heavy, so it was pulling down on one side of the mask, and it was making the mask on display fold in on itself. So I just trimmed away the emblem, and I just display this in front of the cowl like so, and I put the cowl there on the paper towel holder. So there is the emblem with the cowl itself. The cowl actually fits me pretty well. With any cowl, if they're a little tight, you're not going to be able to hear very well. So I can hear myself, but it's very mumbly, it's very faint. It's pushing in on my eyes a little bit because, again, I don't have the same physique as George Clooney, so it's not going to fit me the same way that it fit him. You can see again how one ear kind of drifts off to the side, but you can actually just kind of hold these in place for a little bit, and then they'll just kind of retake their shape. They will kind of wonk again because urethane has less of a forgiving factor than, say, if this was cast in latex. If this was cast in latex, I could just heat that area, hold it in shape, and then when it cooled, it would stay. But urethane kind of maintains its own memory the moment it's out of the mold. And because this is a fresh cowl, this was cast directly from the mold for me and sent to my house. When it was in the shipper box, Customs got a hold of it, they moved my stuff around, and they put this back in the box with one ear kind of like this. So now my cowl is stuck like this because of the post office and because of Customs. This is not Fanatic Effects' fault, but I digress. Like I said, the cowl was made of 40 shore urethane rubber. It was cast in blue, per my request, because it's too impossible to get that accurate Clooney blue. So I just asked for the almost look, and I'm happy with it, until I one day replace this with a more accurate version. But for right now, I'm extremely happy with this. Here's a look at the side profile. You can see that when you put the cowl on, most of those surface defects that were on there kind of pop out. You can't really notice them anymore. And then here's the back of the cowl. Probably sitting off my shoulders a little too much, so you can arch your shoulders up. It looks a little weird. And then here's the other side of the cowl. I don't know if I'm in frame. Am I in frame? There we are. This is a really cool cowl. The George Clooney cowl looks awesome. And I'm really glad that this one fits me. So I must have a closer physique to George Clooney than I do to Val Kilmer, because I could not wear that Val Kilmer cowl. It hurts so bad. It's a little tighter than the previous cowl that I reviewed, the Dawn of Justice by the Rocketeer. That cowl is so tight, so it's cool that I can at least wear this one. So it's a little tight around the eyes, but other than that, this is an amazing cowl. And I highly recommend this particular cowl after it's been remolded. So go to Fanatic Effects directly and ask if he's ever planning to remold this cowl, because when he remolds it, it'll be perfect. There won't be any defects. He'll be proud of it. He'll put it up on his site, and you could purchase one for your collection. So here it is, the George Clooney I'm Batman cowl by Fanatic Effects, cast in blue for the Cowl Vault collection of the movie Cowls. I love this thing. It's one of my favorites in my collection, and it looks good on anyone. One undeniable factor is that if you were to remove the nipples from the batsuit, that batsuit was awesome. George Clooney, hands down, had one of the best batsuits. Just take out all those other weird Batman and Robin things that happened. Take out the Arnold Schwarzenegger from the movie, and you have a way better movie. But this is the Batman cowl from Batman and Robin. So let me just get this thing off my head, and then we'll end the video. Alright, so like any Batman cowl, it hurts to take it off. It rips your hair. If you have facial hair, it hurts even more because the urethane sticks to your facial hair and then it rips. That looked horrible. Oh my god, that's going to become a meme. Okay, anyways. So if anyone's wondering how I display my cowls, I already showed off. I put them on these paper towel holders. You can get these for $2 at Dollarama. So if you're planning on getting into cowl collecting and you want to get a lot of cowls, they have big ones for long neck cowls, and then they have these shorter ones. I have 3 of them here. They have them in plastic and metal for even cheaper. I think you can get these for like $1.50. So you can do like necklace cowls, or you can get the big ones for ones with necks. So how I display mine is I don't want this pressure point poking the top of the urethane for a long period of time. So I'll usually just take a few scrap bags. I'll take my cowl and I'll put the scrap bags at the top of the head, okay? Just like that. Put them at the top of the head, and then I'll put my cowl stand inside, and then I'll just kind of lean it forward a little bit. So this is how I display my cowls. And then with my emblem, I just display it right here. So it looks really great on display. There it is. The George Clooney Batman cowl from Batman and Robin. Some people consider it the worst Batman movie of all time. I think it was okay. And the cowl was cool. Alright guys, Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. If you liked this video, if you want any, give me any feedback, leave it in the description below. Comment section below. Leave it in the comment section below. This has been another episode of the Cowl Vault. Peace out. Be good people.